Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising. This is a video for the transits of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, which are happening in December of 2020, and in the case of Jupiter, continuing until December of 2021, and Saturn in Aquarius will be going on for several years. So I'm not going to get too far into that. I just wanted to talk about the upcoming year and what that might mean for you if you are a Capricorn. So for Capricorn, Aquarius is the second house of earned income. And this isn't a house that is an earth house. It's ruled by Taurus. And therefore, Taurus's ruler, Venus. And so it's all about your earning ability. And, you know, this is coming from the job that you do or ways that you attract money. Venus is the attractor, so it happens on that level. This is the house of self-esteem. So we talk about financial worth or net worth, but then there is self-worth. And these things can actually affect one another. If somebody has low self-esteem, do they believe they are deserving of making more money? They might kind of like, in some cases, downplay their talents, their skills, and feel that they're not worthy of asking for a raise or going after jobs that have more money. Just in general, that sense of expectation of what one can attract financially can be diminished. And let's see, what else? The second house is also your luxury items, or what we call our possessions in general. And so, for instance, if I'm thinking of Capricorn, let's say you have the sun in the second house. And you have to remember that the house system that is most commonly used is the unequal house system. So it's not neatly divided into 30 degrees. And if you're somebody who is looking at your natal chart and you have an unequal house system, you will see that it's not uncommon to have more than one sign in a house. So, you know, even if you have Capricorn rising, you could also have your sun in the second house at the same time, you know. Of course, you would have your sun in Capricorn too, so that would be like a double reason to listen to this forecast. But I was just giving the example, if somebody has a sun in the second house, they identify with the money that they make. It's like an egoic thing where they feel like, you know, they are more of a success in life if they earn a certain amount of money. Now, Capricorn as a sign itself is not necessarily like that. Your big thing is about status, about rising in station in life. And of course, money tends to go along with that. And you are an earth sign, but it's not really that same kind of thing. It's, the word that came into my mind is dignified, you know, is feeling like other people see you in that successful role. But somebody who is mainly interested in the money, they might do whatever it takes to earn money and not really care as long as they can have those status symbols. And that doesn't necessarily garner respect with others if they don't deem that the person is doing something productive in life, or, you know, if somebody's being very shady about how they get what they get, that's not going to sit well with others. So there is more to life than showing off possessions and getting respect for that. It's not a done deal. But anyway, what I wanted to say before I even get into this is that Capricorns have been going through a lot, and I'm specifically talking about those people who have their sun in Capricorn, although it will apply also to the rising sign, I guess. Yeah, sure, because Pluto would be in your first house, and that is the house of the self. So I guess I could apply it to everybody. But this has been a time since 2008 when you've had Pluto in your sign or in the first house. And that can lead to a lot of, questioning things that you have believed in and having them stripped from you. And, having to really do an extreme makeover in your life. And this can be on the physical level because the first house can be the body. So, I mean, if somebody identifies with the body, and a lot of times earth signs do, whether they admit it or not, is that they identify with the body. And if something happens to the body that changes it dramatically, that transforms it dramatically, and, this can work both ways. I mean, somebody can be like very virile or very sexy and have some kind of situation, maybe a health condition that has ended up leaving them in a state where their body has completely changed, and they cannot derive their self-esteem from their body anymore. It just is not producing the way that they want, and they have to change their definition of what the body is there for. And yet, it can also have the effect of somebody who has been very out of shape, really getting into amazing shape and transforming it, in this powerful way. Pluto is associated with power. So it doesn't have to be something catastrophic in a way that is super challenging to the person. But I mean, it might be a challenge of somebody's will. Pluto can also be about that, and it can be like this amazing transformation. So it depends on what the individual's needs are, because some people need to start to detach from the body. Maybe they're too caught up in it, and they need to have that. It would be more of a mental or spiritual transformation, but it would affect the body. But in general, for Capricorn, you may not really feel like a Capricorn much anymore. You might think, you know what, my image, which can be the first house, is really, that's superficial. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to have more gravitas. I don't want to be just somebody who is trying to come across as a professional. I want to be a very deep thinker. I want to be a spiritual powerhouse or something like that. And I want to have this aura that is very magnetic. I'm not really that interested in impressing people with my professional demeanor, which, I could totally see with Capricorn rising. And you have Saturn back in your sign, but of course, Saturn is your ruler, so that can only enhance those qualities that best describe you, that sense of purpose, organization, discipline. So anyway, let's talk about what's coming up in 2021, actually the end of 2020. So we're having what is going to be called, I think they're calling it the Great Conjunction or something. I forgot the Grand Conjunction. I'm not sure how they are phrasing it, but it's when Jupiter and Saturn are meeting up, and this is at the time of the winter solstice or summer solstice for down under folks. And this is also the solstice time in December is the time when the sun is going into the cardinal sign of, hello, Capricorn. That's your solar return period. So for Capricorn, this has added significance. And this could be, a good omen for the upcoming year that this is happening at this particular time. So we have two planets that seem diametrically opposed, like the odd couple. Jupiter is this planet that's very optimistic and very, generous, and Saturn is very cold, very warm, generous, happy-go-lucky. Saturn is very pessimistic, cold, cautious, sober, disciplined. Jupiter is very like the party animal, kind of excessive, and, because that's part of that generosity of spirit, not wanting to hold back. So how do these two planets cooperate with one another when they are in the same sign? They are going to separate. So they are going to get farther apart, as 2021 progresses. They're coming together here, and there will be other points. Jupiter is actually going into Pisces in the middle of 2021, and then going back into Aquarius for the rest of the year. But I'm not going to cover that. I'll probably do a separate mini reading for that, because that's going to cover probably like a few months, I'm thinking. So I forgot exactly when. I think it's from May until July or something. But then Jupiter retrogrades, and it goes back into Aquarius for the rest of the year, back into that second house. So Jupiter, for you in the second house is great. Just if we were taking it alone, Capricorn, this could increase your earning capacity. And in general, money matters. Money problems can be eased, because Jupiter is a planet of expansion, luck, and, I know a lot of Capricorns probably turn your nose up to the term of luck, because you really believe that you make your luck, and I agree with you. How do you like them apples? I agree with you. I think that we make our luck. You can look at people who have seemingly randomly lucky things happen to them, and they say they were at the right place at the right time, but they were at a place. Some people, don't do things, and so they don't have the potential for something to even randomly happen to them. So you're a mover and shaker. You're a cardinal sign. You do things and you get results. Now, because you're ruled by Saturn, you tend to see these things in incremental ways. So they're not, just like this massive success right up front, but they do happen. With Jupiter, there is this kind of a more over the top influence. Jupiter is a big planet. It can give big results. But again, we're balancing it out with Saturn being in the same house. So that's what I'm kind of getting at. But I don't think it cancels each other out. I think that they enhance each other. So your money problems, if you have any, might disappear in one way or the other. Maybe you get some kind of a gift financially, and you don't have to really work at it, and you're able to take that money if you have you owe people money, you have some debt, and you're able to pay that off. Debt is supposed to be the 8th house, which is other people's money, but I have experienced Jupiter in the second house getting money that I did not earn. So which would be more of the 8th house type of transit. So I would advise you to just, expect, to be able to pay off debts even during this period, if possible. So in general, you may find that people are willing to do good things for you. because Venus is the ruler of this house, and Venus is about attraction and ease and things like that. And Jupiter kind of is this sense of expansion. So just like, you talk about you being able to attract money, just anything where it involves the favor of others, it might be in your benefit in that case. And things just might go well for you in general, but especially as they relate to money. And this means that because the second house deals with banking and other financial institutions, this can also be positively enhanced. You might actually, as a Capricorn, who isn't very, doesn't tend to be very, you tend to be more frugal, and so you might not be very comfortable with the idea of luxury items. You might be more generous with yourself and buying more expensive things. Now, one thing that they say about Capricorns, and it seems to be something that I have witnessed in real life, is that when Capricorns do buy things, they tend to buy things of a higher quality. So you're not the type of person that will, buy something generic just to save money. You will research and you'll find what's the best. It's not just the best bang for your buck. It's, what is going to last, because, Saturn is Father Time, and you want something that's going to be durable, that's going to last. That if something is cheaper but it breaks down sooner, that's not a good deal. You're not penny wise and pound foolish. So this might be a time that you don't just splurge on one thing. You're getting you're getting several things, and that you would typically spread out over a longer period of time, because Jupiter is just going to be here for the next year in this house. So you might be like, hey, I want to get it while it's hot, while I'm feeling more optimistic about my monetary situation. And there's also a boost to your self-esteem. And I put down here law of attraction. This is a good time to give a shout out to Cafe Astrology. I use Cafe Astrology for the ephemeris for each year, and they're a wonderful resource. And they have, if you're ever interested in learning more about transits through a certain house, and you have your natal chart on hand, do check them out, because they have wonderful, condensed information. And I always like to check that before I do these readings, just to kind of wet my whistle, so to speak, and give me some focus points or talking points. And one of the things that they noted is that when your self-esteem is boosted, then you tend to go for things more, and then you tend to, get what, you get more good stuff happening to you. And this is really important because they made a great observation about Saturn in this house that I will get to in a moment, but basically saying that the traditional astrologers were talking about these kind of rather negative influences, like, not having the same amount of money, restricted income, and what was this thing? Just general financial loss and things like that. And they were saying that if you are too cautious, you might not invest your money in a higher yielding type of plan, or whatever you call it, some kind of like investment, and therefore you don't get the same, you don't receive the same profit or dividends because you didn't put as much into it. So, or you're getting something that's more conservative in its output, and it just makes, logical sense. And so with Jupiter in this house, you might be feeling, but they were, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ADD here. But the point being that when somebody is looking at astrology, and if you're like me, who has read just about every astrology book way before the internet was a thing, I was reading astrology books in the late 80s. And yes, a lot of those books were more of those traditional astrologers, and they had such a negative bent. And I laugh sometimes when I pull out one of my astrology books, because they do tend to be rather dramatic in a pessimistic way. And that was just how they did things. I think that they were, it's life in general where we see the glass half empty. There's also that fear-based mentality that permeates a lot of society in terms of how we perceive life. So we now, just whether it's our spiritual beliefs or astrology, whatever it is, we tend to look in a more balanced way at things and not just see, kind of over dramatizing some kind of potential negative things. So self-esteem, really believing that you're worth, that can come into things, and that can be such a great thing for Capricorns in 2021. And that can lead to even bigger gains financially, but just for your life in general. This could be a great year for attracting a lot of blessings to you. So in terms of Saturn, again, Saturn is your ruler. So you vibrate in that way that Saturn represents. So Capricorns are not uncomfortable with challenges. You're not uncomfortable with even loss. You expect it. So if that were to occur, you wouldn't lose your head over it. But you're also very pragmatic, and you're very patient in terms of seeing things unfold. You don't believe that Rome was built in a day. You're not expecting everything to fall into place overnight. So if you have some kind of a financial situation, you're willing to give it time. I think of the Seven of Pentacles in the tarot, where it's just like, looking at what harvest has come in and believing that there's something possible to kind of come in for the person. Now, there's going, you probably will feel more caution with Saturn in the second house. But again, we have Jupiter making you buoyant about your financial prospects. So what may happen based upon having Pluto in your sign for all these years, and perhaps having a certain upheaval in your life in general, is that you will see your money increasing, but because you have experienced a lot of upheaval, perhaps, in the last dozen years, or whenever Pluto aligned with your sun or your rising sign, you might feel like, I have to save this for a rainy day. So you take that excess and you invest it wisely, or you just put it in the bank, put it in under your mattress, whatever. You're just very, but I doubt you would put it under your mattress, because you are actually looking towards the future. When you have Saturn in the second house, this is about doing the hard work for your future, to lay down those foundations so that you can have, maybe so that you can have passive income, so that you can have a time when money is coming to you and you're barely lifting a finger. Although, what kind of jobs are those? A lot of times, unless you're talking about investments, a lot of times you're having to do something in return for the money that you're getting, but it's not necessarily a 40-hour-a-week job, So yeah, so you might be like laying down these foundations, And it might take a lot of work, but you're going to be doing it enthusiastically because you're going to be very optimistic about your prospects. You may see tangible results. The second house is a house of tangibility because it's an earth house, and that can really inspire people. People are not typically inspired by promises. They are inspired when they see. That's why, it's said in that movie, "Show me the money," because it's like, you can tell me you're going to give it to me, but show it to me. So you might start to have incremental success. If you might exert more caution. But overall, I think that Saturn can rein in the excesses of Jupiter, and Jupiter can boost your optimism about your money situation, so that you are working hard knowing that it's going to have results and that it's not fruitless, that it's not for naught, that it's going to actually pay off. Okay, that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like to look at what the astrological themes are for you for 2021 in general, not just with Jupiter and Saturn, but all these other influences, and possibly look at your natal chart and what you came into this lifetime with, your skills and abilities that you may not even really be conscious of, and other things, patterns. You can check out my offerings below. I'm at rainandmoonastrology.com. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.